So today we have Kylie from Captured by Kylie, and it's so amazing that you're here. And I want to ask you all about what work you do. I know you're a birth photographer, but you do other things as well. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? So who's in your family and what you do for work?
So I'm married. I've been married 20 years. So my husband and I grew up on the Sunshine Coast. My husband grew up on the Gold Coast. Got married, and 5 years we lived in Brisbane. But then we spent 15 years in New Zealand.
Nice.
So that's where we had our 3 children. They were all born in Queenstown, and we just moved back 2019. So just before COVID. And what I do for work is I'm a maternity, birth, newborn and family photographer.
Amazing.
So yeah, I follow the journey from where it starts in pregnancy and right through to as the family grows.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. And how long have you been doing photography for?
I started right from scratch, like learning how to start a camera, how to pose families and all that back 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But running a business that I would say is not a hobby. As a business, I'd probably say 4 years.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Beautiful. And then what got you into photography? Who got you into it?
I have not remembered a time where I wasn't into photography.
Really?
As a child, I would love walking into a house and seeing a photo wall, and I'd just can I look at all the photos, or opening a shoebox full of old photos. I just loved that from the beginning.
Yeah.
I still have photo albums now that I've taken as a 10-year-old. Had a
Wow.
camera always
Really?
taking photos. Yeah,
Ah.
mostly of babies.
So
Other
it
people
starts
do.
really,
Yeah.
really young.
Really
when you were
young.
10.
10.
Wow.
So I would put babies in the garden, or would take pictures of my brother, and then I would take photos of everything. I was always known as the person with the camera who would always interrupt the moment taking photos. And as teenager, everyone was spending their money on clothes and CDs, and I was at Big W printing in triplicate
Wow.
all my photos and making collages and albums. And I would love giving those photos to the people that I took them of.
Beautiful.
So our engagement invitation was a photo, wedding invitation was a photo. Instead of having name places for our wedding, it was just a photo of every guest
Really?
that I had on my hard drive. Yeah.
So you had every guest photo.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so that was where you had to go look for yourself.
Wow.
So yeah, I've always loved photography.
Okay, yeah.
In high school, I kind of made suggestions that that's the path I wanted to go to, and someone said, and I think it was good advice, but also I was a bit devastated that I didn't start photography earlier, but they said you need another job because equipment's expensive. Before you get qualified and professional to make money, you're going to need another job.
Really? Wow.
And so I pursued my other love, which was babies,
Yeah.
and went into a career of childcare.
Oh, so that's what you were doing from your
So
earlier
the day I was 16 and a half, I was straight into a childcare centre, then nannying overseas, and then nannying for local families. Then I had my own kids, and then my photography journey started.
Amazing. That's a little bit like that would put you off, wouldn't it? But then I've seen someone so young be so successful, like other people who are photographers. So
Yeah.
that's strange, but I suppose maybe back then it wasn't as, I don't know,
Yeah.
people
Well,
didn't see.
Equipment was expensive, so I
Okay.
kind of thought, okay, that's true.
Yeah.
But I was working at McDonald's before I was
Okay.
old enough to work in childcare,
Yeah.
and a lady pulled me over and she said, I can see that you just love children. You're spending all your time not cleaning the tables or whatever, but you're engaging with the children.
Really?
Yeah.
Like young kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she
cute.
said, you obviously love that. And she said, if you love what you do,
Yeah.
you'll never work another day in your life.
Wow.
And I was 14 or 15 when she said that, and I've always
Just this random stranger.
yeah.
Amazing.
So that those two things have always been like my loves.
Wow.
So yeah, it's amazing to do them both together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, I wanted to also ask you what you love about your job.
Everything.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like it's a job sometimes, and to be able to just birth photography in particular, it's such a special moment to be invited to. It's someone else's very, very sacred and private moment, and the power of the entire birth experience is just, you can't really explain it. And I think because photos is what I love being able to give that to other people. I didn't take professional maternity, birth or newborn photos of any of my kids.
Oh, really?
No.
Wow.
And it kills me. I don't know why. I think maybe I know with my first daughter it was a 2-hour drive, and it was in the fashion of like crocheted hats with like elephant ears type,
yes.
you know, those kind of photos.
Yeah.
But I just wish I'd captured it, and I didn't. And so that's what I love about my job, is making sure no one else misses out on having that. Because I regret it so much.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Because all those newborn photos, like I got Zephyr's done, and they're just so like special. And then obviously maternity, I didn't get as many as I would have liked back then. And then this pregnancy, I'm like gone all out. I'm like, I'm not missing a moment, because it's just a one-time event, and you know, this could be like the last time I'm pregnant. So I'm like, I don't want to miss those memories, miss out on anything, because you can show them when they're a bit older, and it's nice.
And otherwise you've just got random pictures where you're not looking the best, you know, if you're mid conversation that someone's taken, or it's just, I still have like a pregnancy photo or two, but it's
not the same,
not like
is it?
that.
No, not professional. Yeah.
So yeah, I think my drive for doing it is because I wish that I had done it.
Yeah, cool. And I love the maternity photo shoots you do. So can you tell everyone, the style that you do, and something about your style is very unique, because I hadn't seen it at all until maybe this year, and then I saw a photographer in Hawaii, she does underwater shoots, and I'm like, oh my god, who does that around here? And I couldn't find anyone, and then you just popped up. So can you tell us about that maternity photo shoots underwater?
Yeah, well actually I saw the first underwater maternity I saw was of a friend of mine, taken by a local Gold Coast photographer, Amy Neeson. And I was a friend, I didn't know Amy, they actually both called Amy.
Oh wow.
The pregnant lady was Amy, and I knew her, and I saw these pictures and I was like, wow, the way the fabric moved under the water, there's something with the water and the pregnancy that really connect to each other. I just really loved the movement of it, the elegance. So she inspired me to do that by watching her, seeing that first photo, and then I gave it a go with a couple of friends, and I just loved it, because I liked before that also doing maternity photos like on the top of a mountain, and you have the fabric all flowing behind. The moving fabric is what got me, and then doing it underwater just had the extra element of connection with the pregnancy I felt. So I'll be doing lots more of those as the weather warms up, because I really love it.
So I had one with Kylie, and it was just so, I don't know, the whole experience was just so amazing, and I just felt like a mermaid, like, even though I'm not a good swimmer myself, but I struggled to breathe under, but you got some really nice ones just with the belly and the fabric, and everyone just talks about them, and they're like, oh, when I'm pregnant, I'm doing that too. I'm like, please, like, it's so fun. Even the experience itself, just to get in the water, it was just cool. Like, I've never had that experience, so it's really cool what you do.
That's so awesome. I think being floating when you're pregnant too. Everything's so heavy and hot sometimes and swollen, and being in the water is weightless and relaxing, hopefully.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, it's a nice treat to just have that time to float and connect and feel relaxed, I think. And that stage of your pregnancy is really nice.
Yeah. And are you a qualified diver? Because you were doing so well underwater. I'm like, God, you look amazing. How do you feel underwater? Because you have to take the shots, like.
I think I will get a weight belt. I think I found myself, because the pool I used in, I could use the edge to hold myself still.
Yeah.
But I felt rising. But the pregnant mums also don't have a lot of lung capacity at that stage.
Yeah.
So I don't have to hold my breath too long either. So I can come up and down and just go with the moments. And sometimes I can hold the camera down and come up and go back under if I need to. If I feel like the moment's happening for longer, even if you're above, so the movement might still carry on. I find it really fun.
Yeah, cool. And then what's the most challenging part about your job as a photographer?
I did have an answer for this. I think sometimes treating it as a job and making it like, I remember my first day in childcare, and I'm sitting between two babies and I'm patting them to sleep, and I just said to the girl beside me, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she was like, oh, you will. Like, this is what, obviously you feel like this is your first day, but I never felt like it was a job. And with photography too, when someone comes to my studio and they've made such an effort, with lack of sleep, to bring a newborn and come and sit there, and I get to have cuddles and conversations, it's hard to think of it as a job.
Yeah.
And so from going from a hobby to running a business, the business part is like not connected with my creative side.
Yeah. It's all the other stuff in the background, which is the majority, like the marketing and the probably tax returns and everything.
Yeah, and charging money for something you love doing so much. Like, you feel like almost guilty but then you realize, I'm spending time away from my family. I've got expensive equipment. I have, subscriptions to Photoshop, and all that has to be paid somehow. So then you have to focus on, okay, I have to do this as a business. And that's probably the hardest part, is making my creative side business-minded.
I totally get because I love what I do. I'm like, wow, I get paid for this. I know that feeling now, and it's just only just come, so I totally get
and I guess the other hardest thing would be to see people miss out and not take that opportunity, and then know that they're going to regret it. Because I know that feeling, and I try to make it as affordable as I can, but also flexible with, if you can't afford it now, just pay it off, but at least it's done and you haven't missed it. Because that's what breaks my heart, is when it's missed. So absolutely.
Cool. And going back to birth, what do you love about birth in general?
Absolutely everything. The whole journey of pregnancy, and even getting to fall pregnant, is for some people such a lifetime of dreaming and wishing. And so, and even if it has come easy or easier, that whole 9 months is quite stressful and exciting, and the suspense of finding out what you're having or not, or if you've got a sibling. And then when you have that birth of that baby, it's like this, it's just not just changing you as becoming a parent for the first time, or your oldest becoming your youngest becoming your oldest. The family involvement, the connection that babies bring, the excitement, the anticipation, and the power in birth too, when you watch somebody work so hard. And the part of birth I really love is when a birthing woman is in transition and they sometimes think they can't do it, and then they do.
Yeah.
And that moment that they change from intense pain, or that last moment, the second that baby is born and put on their chest, that everything changes to euphoria and protection and love, and it's just like, yeah, it's amazing. It's a pinnacle point in the where everything in the room changes.
Wow. I love that explanation. I've never heard of it, but like I just started feeling emotion because it's like I can't do it, and then all of a sudden you get out of that transition and you're like, your baby's here, and you're like, I just did it.
Yeah, then you're like on top of the world.
I know.
You feel amazing.
Yeah.
And 2 minutes ago, it was really hard. So that moment obviously is pretty special to be a part of.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you're not a part of it. You're observing as someone else's moment. You're not involved in that moment, but you capture it for them to watch later because they're so in that moment. They're not going to see everything that happened.
No.
Remember all the hand holding and the massaging, or all the support that went on. You don't remember that. So it's quite a healing. I've had one dad whose wife had quite a traumatic birth, and he felt like he didn't want to see the photos because he didn't want to remember what she went through. But when he did look at them, he said he felt a healing because it brought the beauty back into the moment. So he saw, because he was so stressed about what was happening, he didn't see those moments. He didn't see the love and the support and the back rubbing and the smiles at each other. So it was a good thing, to look back on. It changed his view of what happened that day.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so cool that you can do that for someone too.
Yeah.
How special. Yeah.
That was pretty nice.
Amazing. Can you now tell us a memorable moment when you have captured a birth? What kind of springs to mind?
I thought about this question a lot, and I just have to say that every single birth is so different, and every single birth has that particular moment. The first birth I ever photographed was before I was a mum.
Wow,
it was a friend.
really?
Yeah. And I had no idea how to use a camera, but she knew I liked taking photos, so she gave me her camera, and I was at Stratty, and I caught the barge back, and she had a really, really long labour. The moment that baby was born, I was a mess. I bawled and bawled, and she came out to the family, and I was like, it was so emotional to see that all happen, and I was hooked then. But even then, after that, I didn't have a birth photographer for my kids.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. How come?
The biggest reason why I think a lot of people don't is because they don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And they want it to just be them and their partner, which is what I wanted and what I got. I wanted just my husband and I did have a midwife in Queenstown. There's no epidurals or no pain relief except for gas. I think you get gas.
Okay. At the hospital? Or?
There's a little hospital, so if you want anything like that or anything, you have to go to Dunedin or Invercargill.
Wow.
But I don't have any photos of just us. That moment he helped deliver the baby, and the moment that he put his gloves on and got down on the ground.
Amazing.
It was just the two of us, and it was amazing, but I don't get to see any of that. And I think that's when people think about having a birth photographer, they think someone's going to be in their space. And I didn't want that. I didn't want a mirror. I didn't want any cameras. I felt like, why would I want a camera on me when I'm in pain? But it's not about those moments, it's about the connection and then meeting your baby. And we didn't know what the gender was, so that would have been an amazing thing to capture. And so I think that's a lesson that I've learned. And I hear so many times women don't know they want it till after they've given birth.
And then they regret it, because I've had friends like that, or people I've interviewed on the podcast, and they're like, oh, I should have done this, and then for the next birth they do it, and then they're like so happy.
And you feel you're like, well, you like you say, you can't relive it, you can't.
No, it's a one-time event.
One-time thing, and you don't often know that you want it until it's done. And I always say, a photo can be deleted, but it can't be deleted if it was never taken. If you absolutely hate it, which I doubt you ever would, but if you did, then just, oh well. But if you don't take it, then you can't replace it.
That would be live in regret. If you can't, can help it. That's another question I was going to ask on the lines of that. Do you think birth photography is for everyone?
No. I don't, just because some people are terrified about giving birth. Some people are very, very private. Some people aren't as into having everything captured and would rather remember it how they remember it. I don't think it is for everyone, and I think bringing someone into that space has to be a positive thing. If you're going to be very conscious of being photographed or someone in the room, it could change the way your mindset is. You could be more tense or uncomfortable. I don't think it's for everyone. And also I think birth photography over the years has got a bad name. As in, if you ask someone, they might think of this horrendous image of too much information or too much medical, some people aren't good with blood or body fluids or machines or things like that. So what I like to convey about birth photography the way it is now is that you could show your kids, you could show your dad, and you're not going to feel inappropriate or awkward. It's not just about that crowning moment, although you can capture that. You don't have to show that to everybody. That might just be for you. But it is something that you can sit down with your kids and show them the day you met. You'd be like, this is the day we met you. And I think that's really special.
Beautiful. Moving on. So a question I want to ask is, when you're on call for a birth, what arrangements have you made prior, and how do you prepare for a birth?
Okay, so first thing, you would prepare with the mum. So you would meet in person. Definitely have to meet in person, because you have to know that you connect with that person, as in they might be too loud for you, or they might be someone that's coming into your space that you don't feel comfortable with. So you have to meet. You have to get familiar with what the mum wants on the day, so that you also have to go to the place they're having their baby, whether it's at home, the hospital, a birth centre. You can't be asking directions, or how do I get in this gate, or which door is it. You have to know that. So I do like a dry run to where the birth space is, find out where I'm parking, find out how to get in, if there's a dog, if there's other children, what to do, so you don't have to ask the mum on the day. And then preparing myself, I have probably on call for 2 to 3 weeks, usually from 38 and a half to like 41, or till then, till whenever. So I would make sure I always had a full tank of petrol. My batteries and my camera are all ready to go. I have a go bag in case I need to stay overnight, or I have a change of clothes, I have some snacks, I have water, and then I always have my phone, make sure it's not on silent, I have it under my pillow at night, and then I'll also inform anyone who's going to help look after my kids that there's like a birth scheduled in, and then in the next week or two there could be a phone call that I need to go in a hurry.
Okay.
So yeah, preparing my babysitters and my family, my gear, and the mother, and the birth place, so that you know everything before you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also knowing what she wants.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's a lot of different feelings on what you want captured in a birth. Some people want the entire thing, some people just want the moment the baby's placed and then afterwards with the weighing and the measuring. Some people want to investigate the placenta, some people don't. Yeah, lots of different things you need to know before. And yeah,
cool.
really important.
Absolutely. And lastly, do you have any tips for mamas that are looking for a birth photographer? So yeah, what would you recommend? Because obviously there's a few out there. What would you recommend they kind of look for?
Definitely meet the person. See if they are supportive of your birth plans, that they're not going to put their ways or ideas onto you, what's supposed to happen or how they want it to happen. I know with birth photography it's quite unexpected, and it's often a dark space. You don't know if it's going to happen in day or night, so you can't just go flicking lights on because it's going to be a better photo. You have to know, your photographer has to know what you want first.
Yeah.
Don't be scared of having a birth photographer interfere with your moment. A birth photographer is there so you can stay immersed in your moment, and you're not worrying or wondering if it's going to get captured by getting your husband, hey babe, can you quickly take a photo, and taking them out of their moment. It's basically a fly on the wall approach, I guess, where you respect that birth space and you capture what you're doing, and it doesn't mean that someone else is there, because you could have an entire football team in the room at that moment and you wouldn't notice. So I don't think worrying about having the extra person there is a bigger worry as some people think.
Yeah, I agree, because with Zephyr's birth, the photographer, she was kind of like a fly on the wall. Like, I didn't really notice her. She wasn't in my face. She was always like really mindful where she was, and so I feel like she wasn't even didn't distract me from going internal or anything. But yeah, I think that's true.
Keeping that moment between the moment is really important. And normalizing birth, I think, too, by it's not gross, or it's not it's very special. It's super special, and to have it captured in a really loving, supportive, caring way is something you'll really treasure forever.
Absolutely.
And be able to share with your children when they have kids. And take that fear out of birth, and put the beauty of what's happening.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much.
That's all right.
And
thank you
Kylie,
for having me. I really appreciate it.
And Kylie will be capturing my birth very soon. I'm 39 weeks today, and who knows when this baby will come, anytime
So
soon.
exciting.
So let's see in the next 2-3 weeks, I reckon, maybe.
That's another thing with babies, they have their own schedules, so
absolutely.
Yes, so we'll see when she comes.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.